In this second short video on ESD and evaluation, I tried to give a sketch of the intermeshing landscapes of evaluation and ESD to answer the question, how has ESD merged as an evaluation-led landscape of transformative learning? And you'll all be familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, looking at evaluative process of learning and co-engaged change. So if we use the Sustainable Development Goals for ESD, the example that we often use is with this Sustainable Development Goals wheel. And we've developed this little cup and saucer sort of metaphor for looking at how the various dimensions in the landscape of ESD fit together. So you've got ESD as an evaluative process, and here we look at an internationally well-renowned example of backcasting and evaluation in ESD, a tool for looking at the transactions and interactions in a learning process. And of ESD, the conventional one, we look at significant learning in a school setting. So these examples kind of produce a backdrop of a landscape of evaluative processes of ESD. And there are many tensions and contradictions to be navigated. But in the early days, we had interventionist approaches as ESD. And now these intervention approaches have become much more co-engaged monitoring, evaluation, reflection, and learning processes. And here as well, within these, you find they're using the SDGs for recognizing concerns and assessing value in learning actions. And then as ESD and in these ESD processes, you've got evaluative learning actions taking place, where people are envisaging change together, they're creating value, and they're co-constructing futures to realize outcomes, impacts, scaling, and change. So ESD is quite a wide landscape, and if we go back to CMERL, then the co-engaged monitoring, evaluation, reflection, and learning needs to be assessed as well as being a process of assessment. So very commonly these days, people are using value creation as a way of assessing intervention processes, whether the interventions are in terms of an education process to change others, or people intervening in their own lives, or a combination of both. The SDGs are often used as indicators for assessing, particularly in institutional settings, the outcomes, impact, scaling, and change. So here's a brief sort of sketch of the landscape of evaluation that we're dealing with today. And of course, we have the conventional evaluation of ESD, but we must not forget the other dimensions: evaluation in ESD, evaluation as ESD, and of course using the SDGs for ESD. And here are some references that you might find useful to explore and deepen your understanding of ESD in the context in which you work.